The battlefield is a brutal orchestra. Tanks thunder, bombs shriek, and rifles crackle a deadly rhythm. But lurking beneath the symphony of destruction lies a more intimate kind of warfare, one not fought from afar, but up close and personal in the heart of the chaos. This is the domain of the submachine gun, a weapon that spits lead with ruthless accuracy. These compact, rapid-fire machines have carved a bloody path through history, changing the face of combat in the blink of an eye. Today we delve into the arsenals of two legendary submachine guns, the American-made Thompson and the German MP40. These iconic firearms were more than just tools of war. They became symbols of their respective nations. We'll explore their origins, their rise to prominence, and how they clashed on the battlefields of the 20th century. We'll dissect their strengths and weaknesses, comparing their weight, caliber, and firing rate to see which reigned supreme in the heat of battle. But the story doesn't end there. We'll also examine the decline of the submachine gun, exploring why these once dominant weapons faded from the front lines. But before we dissect the two weapons, let's understand what a submachine gun is. The submachine gun, or SMG for short, is a compact magazine-fed weapon that unleashes a torrent of bullets with a single pull of the trigger. Unlike its larger cousin, the machine gun, the SMG fires pistol-caliber ammunition, the same kind of ammo used in handguns. This unique design concept earned it the name submachine gun, coined by John T. Thompson, the inventor of the iconic Thompson submachine gun itself. The sub refers to its lighter firepower compared to a machine gun, which typically fires heavier rifle cartridges. Developed during the brutal trenches of World War I, the SMG thrived in close-quarter combat situations. Soldiers needed a weapon that could unleash a hail of bullets at short range, easily maneuverable through the cramped trenches. World War II saw the peak of the SMG's reign, with millions produced for assault troops and support units specializing in close-quarters firefights. The Cold War era continued to see innovation in SMG design, particularly favored by special forces, covert operation teams, and mechanized infantry due to their compact size and rapid fire. However, the SMG's dominance on the front line began to wane in the later 20th century. Assault rifles emerged, offering a longer effective range, greater stopping power, and better armor penetration capabilities, crucial in modern warfare. Despite this decline, SMGs haven't vanished entirely. Their ease of control and reduced risk of overpenetration still make them ideal for close-quarters combat situations. Security forces, police tactical units, bodyguards, and paramilitary groups continue to utilize SMGs for these very reasons. Now let's delve into the history of these weapons. The concept of a submachine gun simmered beneath the surface of warfare long before the First World War. In 1895, inventor Hiram Maxim tinkered with a miniature Maxim, a pistol-caliber machine gun designed for portability. While not widely adopted, it hinted at the potential for a compact, rapid-fire weapon. At the same time, inventors like Hugh Gabbett Fairfax explored the concept of select-fire pistols, laying the groundwork for automatic fire in a handgun-sized package. However, the true turning point came in 1914 with the Italian Abele Ravelli's design. His brainchild was a twin-barreled, magazine-fed weapon firing pistol ammunition, lighter than a machine gun and shorter than a rifle. While some believed it was intended for aircraft, the reality is that ground combat, particularly for mobile troops like cyclists, was a key consideration from the very beginning. Ravelli's design planted the seed, and the brutal realities of World War I would provide fertile ground for the submachine gun to truly take root. While stocked pistols were a common sight in the early 20th century warfare, World War I witnessed the birth of a weapon that would forever change close-quarter combat, the submachine gun. The trenches of the Western Front became a proving ground for these new, compact firearms. Italy's Fiat Model 1915, while not a true submachine gun, offered a glimpse of the potential. It wasn't until the Austro-Hungarian Standschütze Hellriegel M1915 emerged in the late 1915 that we saw the first submachine gun with a proper buttstock, although it never saw combat. However, the true turning point came in 1918 with the German MP40. This revolutionary weapon, designed by Bergmann Waffenfabrik, was the first practical submachine gun. It used the same ammunition as the Luger pistol and had a high rate of fire, making it ideal for trench clearing and close-quarter assaults. Infiltrating German stormtroopers wielded the MP40 with devastating effect in the war's final year. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, John T. Thompson was developing his iconic 45 ACP submachine gun. While it missed the war effort, its innovative design paved the way for future submachine guns, including the American classic we all know and love. World War II witnessed the submachine gun erupt onto the global stage in a maelstrom of lead. From the frozen Eastern Front to the sun-baked deserts of North Africa, these compact rapid-fire weapons revolutionized close-quarter combat. Whether it was the Axis powers or the Allies, they each had their own versions of submachine guns. Germany had the iconic MP38 and its simplified successor, the MP40, often but incorrectly called the Schmeisser, which became synonymous with German stormtrooper tactics. Their practicality and ease of production made them a mainstay of the Nazi arsenal. The Soviet Union, who was part of the Allied powers, struggled against Finland's Suomi SMG, and in response to that, they came up with the brutally effective PPS-H41. This weapon, with its massive drum magazine, flooded the brutality effective with a hail of bullets. Later, the even simpler PPS followed suit, further solidifying the Red Army's reliance on submachine gun firepower. Allied powers had to adapt and innovate if they were to match up against the German MP40 and Suomi SMG. Britain initially relied on the expensive American Thompsons, but soon enough turned to the ingenious Sten gun. This simple, mass-produced design became a workhorse of the war effort, with over 4 million manufactured. The United States mainly relied on Thompson, but they also recognized the need for a cheaper alternative. They found that in the M3 grease gun, which offered them a lower rate of fire but was significantly faster and more affordable to produce. But it wasn't just the big players who had developed submachine guns during World War II. Other nations involved in the conflict, like Italy, had their versions of the weapons. The Beretta Model 38, though slow to production, proved to be a reliable and well-liked SMG by both Axis and Allied forces. Finland, as mentioned earlier, had the Suomi KP31 with an innovative drum magazine, a weapon that became a legend in the Winter War, highlighting the SMG's potential. It inspired both Soviet and Finnish submarine gun designs later in the conflict. The sheer volume of submachine guns produced during World War II, coupled with their devastating close-quarter effectiveness, forced a re-evaluation of infantry tactics. Notably, the Germans recognized the limitations of SMGs and began developing the Sturmgewehr 44, STG-44, a precursor to the modern assault rifle. This new class of weapon, combining SMG firepower with longer range accuracy, would eventually overshadow the submachine gun on the battlefield. The Korean War, from 1950 to 1953, became another proving ground for the submachine guns. While the conflict saw the early introduction of assault rifles like the AK-47, SMGs remained a crucial weapon system, particularly for communist forces. The PPS-H41 reigned supreme during the Korean War. The North Korean Type 49 and the Chinese Type 50, both near copies of the PPS-H41, flooded the battlefield. Their high rate of fire, well suited for close-quarter trench warfare and nighttime attacks, proved devastating against UN forces. Some US offers even considered PPS-H41 superior in close quarters due to its sheer volume of fire, highlighting the SMG's continued effectiveness in specific situations. While US forces still relied on the M3 grease gun and even some older Thompsons, American troops found themselves outgunned in close quarters by the PPS-H41's firepower. However, US troops felt their M2 carbines held the advantage at typical engagement ranges beyond close-quarter encounters. As far as tactical shift is concerned, the Korean War showcased the SMG's enduring relevance in specific situations. However, it also hinted at the limitations of pure SMG firepower. The introduction of assault rifles like the AK-47 offered a compromise, combining SMG-like close-quarters lethality with better mid-range capability. This would pave the way for the SMG's gradual decline in the coming decades. The Uzi and Beretta Model 12 emerged as innovative designs, with the Uzi becoming the most popular SMG ever made due to its compact size and telescoping bolt. These new SMGs, alongside still common WW2 models, remained relevant in close-quarter combat situations. The Heckler & Koch MP5, known for its accuracy due to its closed bolt design, entered the scene and became another widely adopted SMG. Submachine guns continued to be a mainstay in the niche, but the MP5's emphasis on accuracy hinted at a potential shift. Extremely compact SMGs like the Mach 10 and Mach 11, designed for use with suppressors, gained notoriety but limited practical use by military and law enforcement. However, their existence spurred the development of more concealable options by established SMG makers. Demand for entirely new SMG designs waned, with existing models proving sufficient. However, manufacturers began creating SMGs based on existing assault rifle platforms, like the Colt 9mm SMG based on the M16. This offered logistical advantages with shared parts. The Heckler & Koch UMP, the last widely distributed SMG, was introduced. Designed for affordability and weight reduction, it offered a polymer construction as a lower-cost alternative to the MP5. SMGs remained relevant for specific uses, but their overall dominance continued to decline. The Kriss Vector, with its unconventional design to reduce recoil, emerged. The Vityaz SN, based on the AK-74 platform, became the standard SMG for Russian forces. However, the rise of compact assault rifles and personal defense weapons began to overshadow SMGs in most roles. By this decade, submachine guns found their niche. While still used by police SWAT teams and special forces for close-quarters combat due to size and controllability, factors like body armor and logistics limited their broader appeal. SMGs remained useful with suppressors for specialized operations. New SMG designs were rare, with the focus shifting towards more versatile firearms. Enough of the historical significance of SMGs. Now let's take a closer look at one of the greatest, most iconic SMGs ever produced. General John T. Thompson envisioned a revolutionary weapon for World War I, a fully automatic rifle to replace bolt-action models. He partnered with businessman Thomas F. Ryan and founded Auto Ordnance in 1916. Designed in Cleveland, the weapon initially used a Blish lock mechanism, but transitioned to a friction blowback system by 1917. Chambered for the 45 AC round, Thompson's trench broom was designed for one main operation. Though prototypes were finalized in 1918, WW1 ended before deployment. In 1919, Auto Ordnance renamed it the Thompson Submachinegun, the first marketed SMG. This innovation, forever changing combat with its automatic firepower, would become a legend. Despite its hefty price tag of $200, around $3,400 today, in 1921, the Thompson struggled to find buyers. Early complaints pointed to its weight, limited accuracy, and underwhelming power using the 45 ACP round. Thompson did, however, see some early action. It was used by West Virginia state troopers in 1921, and the IRA purchased some for their fight for independence. Perhaps most famously, the Thompson became a symbol of the gangster era in the US, wielded by both outlaws and lawmen alike. This notoriety was further cemented by its use in the infamous St. Valentine's Day massacre. While sales to civilians remained low, the Thompson found a niche as a point defense weapon for the US Marines in Nicaragua, and later with police departments across the country. International sales also began, with China being a particularly enthusiastic customer. The Thompson submachine gun became a mainstay for Allied forces in World War II. Over 1.5 million were produced, with variants like the M1928A1 using drum magazines and the M1 favoring lighter box magazines. While the iconic drum magazine proved unpopular due to weight and noise, the Thompson's firepower was valued in close-quarter combat. European commandos, paratroopers, and even military police appreciated its reliability during raids and patrols. The Thompson's effectiveness was more limited in the Pacific jungle warfare, where the 45 ACP round and the weapon's weight led to its eventual replacement. Despite these limitations, the Thompson's production continued until 1944, a testament to its overall contribution as a close-quarters weapon for the Allied forces. Even after WW2, the Thompson saw action around the world. It was used by both sides in conflicts like the Korean War and the Greek Civil War. US and South Korean forces even encountered Chinese troops wielding captured Thompsons. The weapon remained in service with various militaries and paramilitary groups throughout the 20th century, including the Viet Cong and the IRA. Law enforcement agencies like the FBI also utilized the Thompson until the 1970s. But Thompson, like almost all other SMGs, had several types and variants. Let's explore each of these one by one. First up, we have the Persuader and Annihilator. Before the Thompson we know and love, there were experimental forerunners. The Persuader, a belt-fed design from 1917, never quite made it off the drawing board. The Annihilator, however, offered a glimpse of things to come. These early prototypes resembled the classic Thompson, but lacked the familiar rear sight and buttstock mount. Initially fed from 20-round magazines, the Annihilator eventually paved the way for the iconic drum magazine variants. Then came Model 1919, which was also a prototype, around 40 of them produced. This variant bridged the gap to later Thompsons. These early models sported the familiar buttstock and sights, though some lacked these and even the drum magazine. They showed a high rate of fire, reaching 1,500 rounds per minute. The Model 1919 paved the way for the M1921 and even saw use by the NYPD. It also experimented with various calibers, hinting at the Thompson's design adaptability. The Model 1923 aimed to expand the Thompson line with a heavier firing option. This prototype had a longer barrel, bipod, and a more powerful cartridge, but the US Army opted for the established Browning automatic rifle instead. Then came the Model 1921 AC, 1926, gaining a muzzle brake option, creating this model. This upgrade came with a slight price increase, but some collectors still refer to the original model by its initial designation. The Model 1928 marked the first military-adopted Thompson. Originally a modified M1921 with a slower rate of fire for the Navy, it became a commercial success thanks to international contacts during World War II. A variant by Savage even featured a lighter aluminium receiver and composite parts. Next up, we had the 1928 A1 variant, which saw mass production before Pearl Harbor. It incorporated a horizontal fore-end and sling provision for military use. While compatible with both drum and box magazines, soldiers favored the box magazines for their lighter weight and practicality on long patrols. Over 560,000 M1920A1 were produced. Introduced in 1942, the M1 offered a simplified design for faster production. It utilized a blowback operation and a side-mounted charging handle. The M1 also switched to exclusively using box magazines, with a new 30-round option joining the 20-round standard. This variant saw reduced costs compared to previous models. Standing for even greater simplification and affordability, the M1A1 arrived in 1942. The key difference from the M1 was a redesigned bolt, eliminating unnecessary parts. This variant could be produced much faster and cheaper than the M1928A1. The M1A1 became the standard Thompson during World War II, with production reaching over 1 million units. The Thompson wasn't the only submachine gun carving a path through World War II. Across the battle lines, German forces wielded the iconic MP40, a weapon known for its simplicity and brutal effectiveness. Let's dive into the history and development of this submachine gun that became a symbol of German aggression during the war. The MP40 wasn't a revolutionary design, but rather an evolution. Its lineage traces back to the MP36, a prototype submachine gun developed by Werker's Berthold Geipel. This design incorporated elements from earlier weapons, like Heinrich Vollmer's VPM 1930. Vollmer himself later refined the MP36, leading to the adoption of the MP36 by the German Army in 1938. The MP40, arriving just 2 years later, was essentially a further simplification of the MP38. The key change was a shift towards stamped steel parts, making the MP40 cheaper and faster to produce during wartime. Interestingly, Allied troops often nicknamed the MP40 the Schmeisser, after Hugo Schmeisser, a prominent firearms designer. However, Schmeisser had no involvement in the MP40's development, though he did hold a patent on the magazine used in both the MP38 and MP40. When it came to the design, functionality ruled the MP40. These open-bolt blowback weapons fired only full auto, but allowed controlled single shots. A detachable cocking handle, absent on earlier models, doubled as a safety. Mass production was key, so the MP40 switched to stamped steel for a quicker, cheaper build compared to its predecessor, the MP38. A folding metal stock made it compact, but its durability was questionable. The MP40's 32-round magazine, while a weakness, was a unique design with potential for jams if dirty or used as a handhold, a common mistake. Proper training stressed gripping elsewhere to avoid malfunctions. The MP40 became a standard weapon for German infantry alongside the Karabiner 98K rifle. However, close-quarter battles on the Eastern Front exposed a weakness: the MP40's magazine capacity compared to Soviet submachine guns. This led to a shift in tactics and wider distribution of MP40s within German squads. By war's end, over 1 million MP40s had been produced, though Germany sought to replace them with the more advanced STG assault rifle. The MP40 saw a few attempts at variation, but none achieved the success of the standard model. First up, we had the MP40I, designed for extra firepower, featuring a double magazine for a combined 64 rounds. However, this variant suffered from weight and reliability problems and never gained widespread use. Another variant, the MP41, cobbled together parts from the MP40 and MP28 submachine guns. Made in limited quantities, the MP41 faced legal challenges and never saw significant action. The Thompson and MP40 dominated the battlefields of World War II, each offering distinct advantages to their wielders. Let's now put these submachine guns head-to-head to see how they stacked up against each other. One of the most striking differences between these submachine guns lies in their weight. The Thompson, a hefty weapon, could tip the scales at around 10 to 12 pounds, 4.5 to 5.4 kilos, thanks to its solid steel construction. In contrast, the MP40, built with lighter stamped steel, weighed in at a trimmer 8.75 pounds, 3.97 kilos. This difference was a major point in the MP40's favor, hence Thompson was described as clumsy and a boat anchor compared to the lighter, more manageable MP40. Soldiers on the move clearly appreciated the advantage of a lighter weapon, especially during extended combat situations. Both the submachine guns took two different approaches when it came to ammunition. The Thompson chambers the hefty 45 ACP round, while the MP40 opts for the lighter recoiling 9x19mm Parabellum, also known as 9mm. The 45 ACP packs a harder punch, ideal for stopping power. However, this advantage comes at a cost: increased recoil. This translates to the Thompson being a bit more challenging to control, especially during full auto fire. In contrast, the MP40's 9mm rounds deliver a lighter recoil, making the weapon more manageable in automatic bursts. This translates to potentially better accuracy, especially for extended firing. Hence, the caliber choice boils down to personal preference. While the 45 ACP offers more stopping power, the MP40's 9mm might be more controllable for some users, making it a viable alternative. Ultimately, the choice between two calibers depends on the user's priorities. Do they value raw stopping power, or a more controllable platform for laying down suppressing fire? When it comes to putting rounds on target, both the Thompson and MP40 have their supporters. Let's see how they stack up. The MP40 has a lighter 9mm round compared to the Thompson's 45 ACP. Translating to less recoil means better control, especially during full auto fire. But how would these two perform if put up against each other at a 100 meters headshot challenge? There is evidence of German paratroopers achieving headshots at 100 meters with the MP40. This suggests that a skilled user can achieve impressive accuracy with the MP40. However, do not count out the Thompson just yet. In an experiment, a test shooter landed more hits with the Thompson despite its heavier recoil, meaning that the Thompson's sight and individual user preference can play a big role. Although the test shooter landed fewer hits with the Thompson, his shots formed a tighter grouping compared to the MP40 spread. This indicates better control during firing for some users, even with a heavier caliber. Ultimately, choosing between these two seems to boil down to personal choice, where comfort and feel are crucial factors. One user, despite the Thompson's recoil, found it to be very stable, a quality that could enhance accuracy for that particular shooter. Hence, the head-to-head battle for accuracy between Thompson and MP40 does not have a clear winner. The MP40's lower recoil might make it easier to control during full auto, but the Thompson's sights and individual user preference can't be ignored. Both weapons seem capable of achieving decent accuracy at typical submachine gun engagement distances. The Thompson and MP40, two iconic submachine guns of World War II, were both known for their firepower in close-quarters combat, but when it came to firing rate, these weapons differed significantly. Historical accounts and shooter experiences suggest that Thompson had a higher rate of fire compared to the MP40, while the Thompson unleashed lead at a faster pace. The MP40 earned praise for its controllability. As stated earlier, the slow firing rate allowed the MP40 for a more manageable full auto fire. Additionally, the ability to fire controlled single shots with the MP40, thanks to its lower rate of fire, is highlighted as an advantage. Overall, the MP40 has about 500 RPM, rounds per minute, compared to the Thompson, which is far superior in this case at about 700 RPM. As we have established throughout this video, these two weapons and almost all submachine guns were designed to tackle a specific part of warfare called close quarter combat. Hence, range wasn't one of the strong points of either of the two weapons. Still, if we were to compare both the weapons on range, we would say that because the MP40 had a slower rate of fire, it would allow the weapon to take more controlled single shots. Hence, it would also extend its effective range compared to the Thompson, which was a faster firing SMG. If we were to look at numbers, both the guns were not so effective after 60 to 75 feet. So while the MP40 might have had a slight edge in effective range due to its slower firing rate, all these SMGs were primarily built for close quarter dominance. Their lethality at short distances and their impact on the battlefield remain undeniable. The MP40 had fewer parts, hence making it easier to disassemble. Soldiers would have found it easier and far less time-consuming to break down the MP40 for cleaning or repairs. On the other hand, the Thompson was said to have a complex build with intensive labor time during manufacturing. Hence, the disassembly process for this submachine gun was far more intricate. The Thompson and MP40 dominated close-quarter combat during World War II, but their reign wouldn't last forever. As warfare evolved, a new challenger emerged, threatening to push the SMG to the sidelines. In the post-war era, advancements in rifle technology sealed the fate of the SMG. Rifles like the M4 carbine offered superior range, penetration, and stopping power with their rifle rounds. Militaries around the world embraced these compact, powerful rifles, marginalizing the SMG's role in combat. Even special forces, once reliant on SMGs, transitioned to these highly maneuverable carbines, effectively driving the submachine gun out of favor and into a more specialized niche.